Welcome, welcome, welcome one, welcome all. We'd like to, we the Men's Ministry would like to welcome you to another Family Life Hour this Sabbath. For this Sabbath, we have some great men here. It's the month of February, and this is the Love Month. And in the Love Month, there's a lot of things that we could talk about, but for this hour, we're going to talk about the topic that we're going to go over is men don't cheat, right? And I have some of the greatest men that you could ever want to talk to on this subject. I got Alistair Liddell, DJ Don Juan. I got one of my great friends, Nicholas Francis. Then I got some of my they call them my huddle buddies, right? My huddle buddies, right? The foxhole buddies. Jeremy and Claudel, we've become better men together. So we're gonna jump right into it, guys, because I we have an hour, but I don't think that's long enough. So the topic is men don't cheat. So the first question I'm going to ask, right? I'm going to shoot this one out. Do men cheat, right? Alan, let's talk about that, because you before we jumped on here, you asked the question, do men cheat? So I'm gonna throw it right back at you, Alan. Do men cheat?
Do men cheat? Yes.
You can't just
We need some content. We need some justification.
All right. Now here, you know what? So my thing was men don't cheat. So Alan, you just threw a stone out there telling me that I'm a liar, and you're just saying that men do cheat, right? So now the next question becomes, why do men cheat then?
Prior to their relationship with Christ.
Okay, so men cheat before they meet Christ.
Well, there you go.
So yes and no. I would say yes and no.
Okay.
I would say men that cheat aren't men. They're still boys.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it boils down to it, if you're a man and you're willing to commit to one woman, your mindset should be to be the man in the relationship and do whatever it takes to make the relationship work. So I would say yes and no, because yes, men who think they are men cheat. Men who were raised in that type of environment are more likely to cheat. Men who are men who take relationships seriously will not cheat. Not saying they won't come close, because they are human. And any man can be pushed.
When you say push, Jeremy, what do you mean pushed? Are you saying push to cheat or pushed?
Okay, all right, you asked. So I find myself in a lot of conversations where, and this is with females, where they say, oh, he didn't take out the trash or wash the dishes after I cooked dinner, so I'm not breaking him off.
No, listen, Jeremy, listen. I know this is Sabbath hour, but here we need to talk plain. I don't know what you mean when you say breaking them off.
Okay, I'll pull up. Okay, there is no love making going to be had.
Okay, all right, so that's a good one.
So I'm just trying to keep it SDA.
All right.
Keep it Ellen White. Can't say keep it 100. Keep it Ellen White. But I don't think it's understood the importance of intimacy in a relationship. And for us, it's not the end all be all, but it's very pivotal. And when a man is looking for that from his woman, and she's using it as a control mechanism, that's a good way to break a man down. Now, It's never happened to me, but I've seen where that man will come to work every day. And there's always one woman who picks up on it.
Mm.
It's almost like they can sense it in the air. Next thing you know, she's befriending him. And now she is now his confidant for his marriage.
Right.
So he goes home. He's on rations. Can't do nothing right. This, that, and the other. He come to work. All the attention he's supposed to be getting, he's now getting, because now he's subconsciously, he's giving her the blueprint to his happiness. And what ends up happening in those situations, she gets him when he's the weakest.
So then
so in that case,
right.
And I've said it to many women, he's at fault because he's Sir Kane, but you drove him there. So he didn't go there on his own.
Right.
Because if everybody is taking care of home, that man's not doing that. He doesn't have a reason to have a conversation with that woman, unless it's about her TPS reports.
So let's talk about, so Claudel, I'm gonna have you right behind me. Or I don't look like he had.
Yeah, you look like you had something to say, bro.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
So if you're taking your exam and you look over somebody's paper, but you don't copy down that answer, did you cheat?
I don't see that as cheating.
But
you cheat when you take the answer.
You cheat when you take the answer. Oh, okay. All right. So the sin is the action.
Although if someone looking from the outside in, it looks like you're cheating. The situation I gave, it eventually became a cheat because there was work put in to weaken him to cheat.
So I have a different point of view on that answer. If you're taking an exam and you look at somebody else's paper, I'm gonna say, yes, it is cheating. When you're taking the exam, the objective and the goal is to answer the questions that are in front of you with the knowledge that you have. The knowledge that you have is not on what that other person has on their paper. And so I'm supposed to concentrate and focus on what's in front of me. Now, for whatever reason, I'm looking across the way at the other person's information. I have looked at it. And since we're talking about do men cheat, to me, that can be considered a form of lust, if you will. And so although I didn't take the answer and write it down, although I didn't have sex with this woman that I was lusting after, I still lusted, and lust therefore in and of itself is a sin. So that's the way that I'm looking at it. And so if I have the exam, the professor passes out the paper, each person, it is understood that, hey, this is your exam. This is, a review to see how well you've learned the information that you were given. And so, based on however you perform on that test, obviously it's going to give you the grade. And so for me, the answer to that question is, if you look at another person's test, you are cheating.
So let me run behind Jeremy right quick. So Jeremy, one of the things that you were talking about is the fact that, in the example, that man wasn't getting the physical attention, right? His wife was holding out, right? So one of the things about men, right, based on, when you look at the 5 love languages, a lot of men, our love language is physical touch, right? And when we don't get that physical touch, right? When you're not getting the physical touch, and then on top of that, there's lack of intimacy there, right? Now, that woman, right? She's no longer fulfilling her obligation of the marriage, right? Now, if she's no longer fulfilling the obligation of the marriage, right? Nick, I'm throwing this one at you, right? Does that now give that man the I'm gonna call it a hall pass, right? Does that now give him the pass to go seek that level of intimacy that he's not getting at home?
I don't think there's any hall passes in marriage. I think what really needs to happen is he has to somehow work on his communication or that couple's communication to get across his feelings without, going to that extreme. Because I'm sure their communication can't be what it's supposed to.
So
Can I ask a question? When does intimacy start? Does it only start in the bedroom? Where does effective intimacy start?
It starts outside of the bedroom.
Exactly.
Of course.
Exactly.
Now, you said something about the physical aspect of it, but then you notice that a woman who can promise you something, you end up doing a lot more for her than when you actually get through there. So I like to say that temptation always offers more than it rewards.
Listen,
Guarantee.
you know what?
Guarantee.
Listen, guys, listen. Alan, you said something so profound, but I need to decode what you just said, right? Because I'm a straight shooter. Alan, did you just say? And I actually had that written down. That's what we call the thrill is in the chase.
Exactly, the ferocity of the hunt.
Right. So a lot of men, what they would do is they would see the grass green on the other side. They would, or before you start dating, right, or before you get married, we do the world for a woman before the level of intimacy is obtained, right? And after that happens, it seems like the things that happens, the money, you're not buying roses, you're not opening the doors, you're not instead of going to Ruth Chris, babe, let's Netflix tonight, right? Because sometimes the thrill is in the chase. And a lot of times how we get caught up is the fact that we may be in something and we may think, oh man, shorty over there looking, she's looking real nice. Let me chase after it. As soon as you get it, right? Soon as you're done, it's like, what did I just do? And that's what the devil does to us, right? The devil sets us up not just when it comes to intimacy, right? In any other aspect of sin, if you want to take it there, you may think you're getting away with something, and after you've gotten, it's like, man, what did I just do, right? Jeremy, you look like you got something to say about that.
No, I was vibing with you. If I were to say something, I mean, when you put it in the context of that, one of the strongest things, one of the most dangerous thing is a praying family.
Right.
Is a marriage rooted and grounded in God. So if that's the case, why would he not cause the wife to do that? Why would he not cause the brother to start, I'm not getting validated at home. I don't feel appreciated at home. She's not showing me no love. I can't do nothing right. Here come Boquisha.
Right.
Boquisha, she just, hey, how you doing? I'm good. Next thing you know, now we having a conversation about my marriage.
Right.
It's no different than Eve with the apple. Think about it. The most beautiful fruit supposedly in Eden, you wasn't allowed to touch it. Do not. You can eat of all other fruit in the garden. Don't touch this one. What'd that man do? Go ahead, man. Please don't listen to God. He just don't want you to be on his level. Eat the fruit. You'll be fine. Trust me. Sleep with the girl. You'll feel better because you're getting something your wife ain't giving you at this point.
Mm.
And once you do, boom, now you naked.
Right.
Now you exposed. That's how he gets you.
feeling.
Because although we don't want to admit it, when we get in our feelings, we in our bag. And it's not a good look. We don't always make good decisions when we in our bag. We don't. And we pay for it. Right. In some shape, form, or fashion.
So is it a consensus that so one of the reasons why men cheat? So ladies, listen. So I'm talking to the ladies right now, right? You got some men on here that are strong, that they're grounded, but you got other fellas out here that aren't strong and they may not be as grounded. So I'm telling you right now, right? Listen, right? If you're the type of woman that you're withholding intimacy, men might be weak. And it's not it's not giving an excuse. We're just talking real. Can we be real? Right? And the reality of it is, if you withhold that physical touch, remember as men, who are we closest to? We're close, mamas, right? We're close to our moms. And what did our mom? They held us, they kissed us, and they comforted us. And now we leave that nest, and we fly. We in a new nest, and we're not getting that physical touch. We're not getting validated, because our validation comes through physical touch. And if you're not getting that, if you're saying, hey, you know what? No, you may want to. That's one area, right? We just gave you a gem on how to prevent that from happening, to ensure that you'll never fall into the trap where you have to deal with your man cheating.
And I got a question to ask.
Right.
When you're courting someone that you're really serious about, right, and it's already been mentioned, what did you do to make it official? How hard did you work in order to make that relationship a rooted and grounded relationship? And then I'm gonna say this for both parties. What ends up happening, people say I do, and then they take off the Maybelline.
Right.
Maybelline comes off, right, and all purgatory breaks loose, because what you were presenting isn't who you are. Right. And as a result, that dynamic as well causes some issues in marriage.
So Jeremy, but to address that, I like to think that when you're dating, mm-hmm, and then you reach the point of, I'm going to marry this person, the Maybelline, mm-hmm, should have already been off. People can date different amounts of time. I don't have a specific guideline. As I'm speaking, I'm just suggesting that the younger you are, the longer you should probably date. The older you are, the less time you may probably need. And so if I can throw out some numbers, and I'm just talking off the top of my head, I guess when you're in your early 20s or whatever, you might need to date a little bit longer. If you go into, let's just say, your 40s or whatever, you're pretty much set in the type of person that you're going to be, so you know what it is that you want and what you like and what you're going to stand for and what you're not going to stand for. And so if you're dating someone, you should have dated long enough to see what they look like without the Maybelline. But let me go back to something else, because we're talking about intimacy and other things of this nature. And of course, different people date differently, but we are inside of the church setting. So let's go from a church point of view. Let's think of a triangle. You have a bottom left-hand side and a bottom right-hand side. And you put the husband on one side and you put not the husband, let's just say the male on one side and the female on the other side. And then at the very top of that triangle, you have God. And so each person, as they are drawing closer to God, which is at the top, they are drawing closer to each other. So, of course, we're living in 2021 and things are a lot different. But the bottom line is we still have to have that relationship with Christ. The word does speak to us about that. It states in Corinthians that husbands are to love your wives even as Christ loved the church, and he died for it. That's something that I have to constantly remember, and I'm reminded of, because I am in this marriage thing for 20 plus years. And sometimes I just don't feel like it. And I do know what Jeremy's talking about in terms of, hey, this is happening, that's happening, and then you get to talk to somebody, wherever they may be. I know plenty of people that has been the situation, but you have to be, if you put yourself in a situation spiritually and spiritually with God, to try to not allow that to happen. You're better off if you guys are trying to do this together, because we understand that women are women and they're going to do things that's going to push our buttons. But what we have to realize is we're not fighting against flesh and blood, but against principalities. And so because we have those type of things going on, then we have to be constantly reminded of that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like you just read the word and then you pray, because we go and we live in the real world as well. It's just that when you surround yourself with everyone such as what we have right here, we as men need accountability partners. And that's what each one of us here are. And so when we have a particular situation, I can say, hey, Jeremy, I know you real on this and you understand this particular situation. This is how I'm feeling. And you're going to give it back to me real and say, hey, Claudel, I understand this. I feel this. And then we may talk about it a little street or whatever. And then we're going to bring it back. Then I can talk to someone like Fred. Fred's going to hit me with, Claudia, let's think about it. What did you do that you could have done differently? Because a lot of times, because it is me, I'm not really realizing that I'm the one that's messing up. I'm just thinking about how I'm feeling. And so I'll just end it off by saying there needs to be an accountability. And marriage is very difficult if you try to do it with your own self, because you think the way that you think, which you should, but you need outside influences, hopefully spiritual influences, that can help you make the right decisions.
Man,
That kind of goes back to me saying, when we in our bag, we do stupid stuff.
Yeah.
guys, I want to welcome to the conversation. I want to welcome to the round table, Frederick Bussey. Listen, this is a great man. Fred, jump on in. So what we were just discussing was so the topic for the night is, do men cheat? And Jeremy brought up something good where he gave a scenario where if a woman holds out, right, if she's not fulfilling her duty physically, that's one of the things that cause men to cheat. You're on mute. Okay.
So were you trying to assign the blame or get to the root of it? Because I know Jeremy's not making excuses, but
No. I went a little deeper than that. He just gave you the catch up quick version.
I got you. So I know women always ask this question, like, why do men cheat? And I used to wonder that as well. I think that, so there's different reasons. Like, there's not one reason, but I think at the core of it, for most men, cheating is your coping mechanism for your relationship, right? And a guy can say, he can honestly believe that he's in love with his woman and still cheat. But because of all the stress that happens in the relationship, sometimes he doesn't know how to deal with that, right? And also because women don't know how to either alleviate that stress or what have you. I think that they create this environment where the outside temptations become so much more powerful and prevalent, right? Not saying it is right, but I think that at the core of it, if a man is conditioned to believe that he has to go outside and he's justified in whatever means in going outside to fulfill his desires, his needs, or just to blow off steam, right? Then he's going to do that. I think at the core of it all, and I was thinking about this the other day, is just the fact that what men have is that we don't have a place or a way to accept or be validated for who we are, usually, except through material gain or success or the validation of a woman, right? And there is no higher validation than for a woman to give you her body, right? Even if you're married. Even if you're married and you're supposed to believe, oh, we are one and that's my flesh, and you shouldn't withhold from it, etc. The fact of the matter is that even still, I've been married 11 years, but when my wife and I have not, we've not been intimate for a period of time, I start to feel that thing, right? And so it's real because, like, because we are not allowed in our culture, right? We're at least taught to be able to pursue affection for affection's sake, right? All the affection that we have ever been trained to get has been in pursuit of getting some, right? We're getting a girl, right? And so when you kiss her, that means she's yours. That means she's accepted you. And as you keep going further and further, you know, if you were one who went all the way and had sex when you were a teenager or whatever, then that becomes part of your norm, right? If she likes me, you know, she's going to give it up. And if she's not giving it up, it becomes the opposite thing. And so there's whole lot of acceptance. I mean, I don't want to get it too deep into it, but you can suffice it to say that every validation that a man gets in this world is intimately tied to his sexual prowess and being validated in a sexual way, right? Because the more money you make, the more desirable you are as a man. And the more desirable as a man you are, then the less obstacles you have to being validated by women, period. And women don't realize that they set themselves up for that. You know, 5% of Black men in this country make more than $100,000 a year, if that, right? 5%. And yet that is held up as a standard of which is supposed to be, right? So women and so it becomes a sign of a badge of honor for them. If I bag a man who's making 100K or better, he's a doctor, he's a lawyer, he's an engineer, he's an executive, you know, that's a badge of honor for them. But what does that say to us internally, right? It means that if I have to make a certain amount of money to be validated at this level, so that there's no questions asked when it comes to what I want, you know, then it's a serious thing that we kind of have to deal with. I don't know if it feels like I'm going off on a tangent, but I think that there's certainly there's things in our culture that doesn't allow for men to be vulnerable in that way, and sex is the only way that we are allowed to be vulnerable, right? But even then, we have to be in pursuit of it, hunting it down, right? It's never offered to us, or rarely offered to us, except maybe on your birthday, or
Valentine's Day, or
right. So
maybe your anniversary, maybe
if you did it right? Did you lay it out? Did you take them? Yeah. So, and all of that is a validation. Okay, yeah, you're special enough to deserve this, right? But you always have to be earning it to deserve it. And so there's not this intrinsic validation. I think Chris Rock said it the best. He said, only women and puppies get love for who they are, right? Women, children, right? A man always has to do something to deserve to be loved or validated. And so that's something that we're always wrestling with. You know,
Fred, just go ahead.
In a marriage, in a relationship, when is one of the main times both parties are working to please the other? Think about it. If you're serious about one another, what is one of the most pivotal times where you're both working in tandem to make sure each other's needs are being met?
That's during intimacy.
Thank you. So you remove that, you've pretty much put a monkey wrench in what your teamwork looks like.
Okay. Can I'm gonna add in this something. I hope I don't mess anybody up, but the truth is the truth. My uncle said to me prior to me getting married, he said that when you're looking for a spouse, make sure that you find your friend. Because when the intimacy is done, you want to make sure you have a friend that will be able to bring back that intimacy. Because the intimacy that we're talking about right now, it sounds like we're talking about the physical aspects of it, when it's a lot deeper than that. There are things that should still be done. I got 15 years in deep, and I make sure, I remember one time I said to my wife that something about my girlfriend. She was like, what? Like, well, yeah, you're supposed to be my girlfriend. The things that you did when we were dating, that's what you have to get back to. And it's a major factor is your communication. So one day I went into somebody's office, long story short, it was Valentine's Day, and the lady in the office asked me, what did I get my wife for Valentine's Day? I said, nothing. So my goodness, I'm not talking to you anymore. I thought you were the sweetest guy because you always talk good things about your wife. That's it. You didn't get her nothing. I said, no. I said, okay, count up all the things that you get for the year. Your birthday, your anniversary, you get gifts for Christmas. Let's even throw in Easter and a bunch of other things.
Mother's Day, don't forget that too.
Yeah, throw in that too.
Yeah.
You get about six gifts a year. Do you feel special? Because everybody's getting it at the same time. My wife gets a gift once a month just because nobody else is getting a gift. And the prices actually come down so I can get her a lot more.
That's where it's at. That's it.
Alan,
That's it. That is it. I like that.
now Fred, you were saying something about, about the society that we've in, right? And now the question I would ask is, when you look at the music, right, and the external influences that we have, where cheating is a culture, right? Shaggy had the song, "It Wasn't Me," right? If you listen to most of the music that come out now, right, it's something in there about a man being a man by being with multiple women, right? So Nick, talk to us about that. Talk to us about how do you think, and especially with the younger generation coming up, right? What type of examples are what type of examples are actually being set from I guess from the things that we see around us? Look at like this, right? Jeff Bezos, right? The richest man on earth, right? He went and paid, like, that was the most expensive that he ever had. You know what I mean? You had to give what, billions just, like,
she got
and
divorced.
and truthfully, when I see somebody like, what really hit me the hardest? When I saw when Jay-Z, when we found out that Jay-Z, like, yo, you got Beyonce, bro. Like, you got Beyonce. So when you see these external factors, right? And men that we look to, like, okay, you got the baddest chick. You got so you have one man, he had the most beautiful woman, and then you have another man who has all the money, right? And he's still stepping outside their marriage. So Nick, talk to us about those external factors and how does that play a role in or affect men being for nowadays?
I mean, yeah, we live in an over-sexualized world, so we hear it in a lot of especially the music. We're gonna hear it in that music. We're gonna see it on TV, see it in movies. So this question kind of reminds me of a book I read by Devon Franklin. He kind of makes the analogy that men have a dog inside of them. Now, that dog is just a metaphor for lust, right? So basically, our job is to control that dog or to tame that dog, basically. So definitely a good book. I don't know, it's a weird question, but we just live in an over-sexualized society, so we kind of learn things from different places.
Who's that, Alan?
Two things. This is gonna be real quick. For the ladies that are listening, you may say that men are dogs, but if a man was to really act like a dog, you'd have yourself a really good man. Because as soon as you come in that door, he's gonna wag his tail, he's gonna jump all over, he's gonna lick you.
Hey,
so
it's a Sabbath.
Is your man really a dog? And second thing, ladies, if your man says, and my wife knows this, if I say to you, I love it when you have that hairstyle, it makes you look like Beyonce, it's not you that I'm in love with.
Oh. Ooh.
Yo, why you just get a whole bunch of brothers in trouble, man?
Right.
Brothers is trying to figure out how they gonna clean that up.
Can I bounce off of
Yeah.
something right quick, though? I actually want to bounce off of Nick's
Right.
shirt because he's talking about Black history, and so we're just talking about Black men in general. I think one thing that we don't realize, we talk about the hypersexualization of our society and our music, right? But our culture is that way because even from slavery, we were being bred to be breeders, right? We weren't bred to be stability in the home, right? So you would farm out your Black slaves to breed across other plantations, right? The ones who were the biggest and the strongest. And so there was this whole thing that was perpetuated. And so in a lot of ways, you see that behavior manifesting in parts of our community where there's the most trauma and the most damage, right? Again, all behavior in some way is either medicating or healing some sort of trauma or behavior in your past, right? And so a lot of that has to do, like, we blame lust, and especially we love to do that in the church. But most sin is really the symptom. It's not the disease itself. We call sin the disease, but sin is just a separation from God, right? Separation from our divine identity, which means that our mindset is in the wrong place. When your mind changes, your hips get in the place where they should be, right? You're not looking at that chick, you're not letting your mind wander and do those things or whatever. And so a lot of it has to be that we have been conditioned mentally to be thinking in the wrong ways. But when we focus on the lust, right? I gotta stop lusting. But what you really need to do is reacclimate yourself to the divine image of what God's supposed to be. Because if I see myself as a husband and not a dog, if I see myself as a covering for the home and not needing validation out in the streets from every girl who give it to me, right? And every conversation and every side situation, then when my identity shifts, my behavior shifts, right? And so women look at our behavior and call that our identity. And we look at our behavior and call it our identity. When in reality, you just need to change your mindset about who you are, and then the behavior changes.
So Fred, let's go there. So when we talk about sinning, right? So let's take it to the Bible, right? You can't I'm gonna play devil's advocate, but we can't get through the Old Testament without finding a man who had multiple wives, right? And even in the society that we live in right now, you have some societies and some cultures, it's okay for their man to be with multiple women. So this is a question I'm gonna throw out there, right? Is it selfish, right, to think that a man should only be with one woman?
No.
Okay. You can't just say no.
I'll say that off the break. No.
Just stale face me. So you're saying it's not selfish for a man to think that a man should only be with one woman?
Oh, no. Then I misunderstood. No. Please, ladies, that is not what I'm saying. I promise you. I'm not. No. He says I do. That's it.
Okay.
My bad.
But David was a man after God's own heart, right?
I knew you were going there.
Yo,
Yeah,
he's the best example. He's the best example. I mean, this dude is a man after God's own heart.
Right.
And he took Bathsheba and then had her man murdered. That's some gangster stuff in the Bible. I mean,
right.
Yeah, she shouldn't have been out there taking a shower in the middle of the day, but dang, David should have had enough self-control not to be looking. I mean,
So that was David looking at the test on the other desk, but I'm gonna leave that alone.
Hey, but David actually took the answers though. He broke down the
No. Right.
He actually plagiarized the whole test.
Right. And then he he broke the Scantron machine, or he went and he assassinated the proctor for
So
calling
you
him
can't
out,
say I cheated.
right?
You can't prove it.
Right.
But then you see the trend,
So
and it went from David to Solomon.
right.
Wisest man in the world. Riches and wealth on monkey stilts. What was his downfall? Women. Think about it. When he started marrying all these other women, their cultures became his influence. And once he started to adopt their culture, that's when God turned his back on him.
And there's always, you know, I know I use the biblical reference of David and, you know, Jeremy Solomon, but even in David, I wouldn't call that infidelity, but in David's action and him doing what he did, he still had to suffer the consequence, right? There was a consequence for what he did. And a lot of times with the cheating thing, we think we can get away with it, right? And sometimes is that one little thing, because I think if most men knew they would never, if most men knew that they could never get caught, would they cheat? Alan, go ahead. Would they cheat if men knew that they could, that they would always get away with it? Would they still cheat?
Listen, I worked for the armored truck for how many ever years?
Okay.
And 9 times out of 10, I will tell you, it's not because you have not stolen money that means that you're a good person. You just haven't figured out how to get away with it.
Mm.
In the Bible, I'll tell you, it is written, because don't ask me where it is. You got to look for yourself. But it is written. I know Jeremiah had something to say about it. He will keep thee in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on him.
Mm.
Right? So where is our focus? If you don't learn from David, he had all these other ones, but there was one that when he finally got through to her, that made the world a difference. But when did he become a man after God's own heart? When he repented of that.
Right.
So that's what we are here to do. So do men communication? But is the communication mainly between you and her? It's between you and God. Get that communication together. Get that communication together first. Trust and believe. She has nothing else to do but to follow. But nowadays, as men,
right. So you know,
we're kind of scared in our own house to say, "Follow me, woman."
Mic drop.
Now the question, the next. So let's shift gears, and then we're gonna really turn it up. Is there true healing after cheating?
Yes, because Al just pretty much put it out there how the healing will take place.
Well,
actually, Claudel did too, if both parties are willing. If both parties are willing.
Amen.
The main and only way that healing will take place is if God is in the center of all of it. And both parts are willing to follow his guide. And on top of that, let's be real. We color folk, we don't like going to counseling.
I ain't going.
I mean, how many black folk that went to counseling and still got divorced? Most men, I ain't going to no counseling. Girl, please. So both parties have to be willing. Both parties have to be willing to forgive and let God lead the healing process. If one person is doing it, the other one ain't, all bets are off.
And I'm gonna go with that part. If one person is doing it and the other one isn't, that's the one sin that there is kind of an excuse, for lack of a better word, or a reason for divorce. Now, of course, we can go into other ailments, but that's not what we're talking about here right now. So because of the difficulty for one person to be able to forgive the other one, if that has happened, biblically, you can legitimately get a divorce. Divorces happen for a variety of reasons nowadays, but I'm just saying what we understand in the Bible. And so your question being, is there true healing after infidelity has happened, or, can they really get over it? It of course does depend on the individuals, but the mere fact that that is such a major thing for many people to deal with, if you personally feel that you cannot do it, or maybe even choose not to do it, you do have an out biblically. That's how deep it is.
Moses said, you can write the woman a note. Oh man, my man was angry when he said it, but hey, just put it on a piece of paper.
What I noticed,
All
I
right,
mean,
so-
it's easy. You could drive down the street, especially I'm driving down the street in Newark. You see the sign that says $3.99. It's your divorce.
Right.
So that's one of the things nowadays. It's so easy to get it. So one of the things that my wife and I spoke about is said, listen, doesn't matter how upset I get, divorce is not an option. Period. I'm not signing anything. That's it. So once
No,
we get
and
that
that's
out of the
fix
thing, doesn't matter how angry I get, doesn't matter what I do, divorce is not an option. Sometimes
I think
we have
that
to raise our voice, and a girlfriend may come in and say, "Oh, why are you talking to you like?" Don't worry about that. He comes home every night. Pay attention to what's important,
I
and
think
don't
you got to
withhold
go
it.
into it with that. You go into it stating, because we stated that in the beginning of our marriage. And if people are being honest, if you're married for a period of time, there may be time in which you feel like, I'm not dealing with this person, whatever you may want to be calling them, because you're upset.
Mhm.
But if you go in the beginning stating that divorce is not an option, of course, there's going to be arguments. Of course, there's going to be a number of things that you're not happy about. But I've spoke with people that before they got married, they said, well, if it doesn't work out, then we can always get a divorce. My response is, don't get married. What's the purpose?
Right.
Why are
You
you
didn't already
getting
set
married?
yourself up.
Right.
It makes, in my opinion, it makes no sense to state if it doesn't work out. What do you mean if it doesn't work out? You don't understand that this is a covenant. Maybe you don't understand the whole thing about marriage altogether, because they shouldn't be if it doesn't work out. So if you go in with that pretense, it's a done deal. I think
The
that is
fact
doomed
that you
before it's done.
verbalize that, you
Right.
put a bullseye on your back.
Right.
Mhm.
Prenup.
So-
but
so
same thing with the
basically-
prenup.
You then basically gave the devil the blueprint off the break to trip you up. You're going in, well, if it don't work, we can part ways cordially, I could be amenable about the situation. Just don't bust my pockets. And the devil is gonna he feeds off that.
Yeah.
Well,
You speak it in, you technically will speak it into existence.
Mm-hmm.
And that dude would throw everything at you to make sure you trip up. And guess what? That's one less family he got to worry about. Gotcha.
well, I think in this case we give the devil too much credit because we set ourselves up, like you said. But it comes to me from two root causes. One is the lack of accountability or responsibility for yourself, and the other is this expectation that other people are supposed to make you happy. And if they don't make you happy anymore, you can just go find happiness somewhere else. Like if it's my wife's responsibility to make me happy and she doesn't do that, then I just go find somebody else to make me happy. And if she doesn't make me happy long enough, cool, I'm out. The other thing, like what Claudel said, it's a very passive stance if things don't work out. Like things never just work out. You have to work them out, right? And if you don't take accountability for your role in working it out, then you are in essence giving yourself an out, right? And that's what most people want to do because they don't want to go deep. And sometimes it goes into our own trauma and our own issues and stuff that we never wanted to work out anyway. Like somebody said, we're not going to counseling, right? I ain't going to counseling, right? But that's a cop out because what you're saying is I'm not willing to work that hard to get right, right? I just want things to go as right as they can for as long as they will. And when they stop, then I'll just go and do something else. And really, that's one of the issues that men have to deal with. What we're called to do as men is do the hard stuff in life. We're built for it. But what we have now and what we have had for a long time is a lot of soft men, right? We aren't pushing each other to be our best version of ourselves. Right. We're not pushing ourselves to be the best, right? So we'll go to the gym and you think about it, right? Whenever you have a workout buddy, you got a crew, y'all go to the gym and work out together, you're much more likely to be consistent because you're in a company of other men that are doing the same thing. And that's the challenge, right? We got to be in a community of people that are pushing each other to be the best at this thing, not just the image of it, right? Because in church, we can put up a good front. We can fight in the parking lot and then come sit down in the pew and be, holy, holy, holy. But when it comes time to really, when the rubber hits the road, we're not doing that work that we're supposed to be doing. We're not reading the books. We're not getting in the word. We're not really pressing ourselves. And I stand, guilty of that as well, realizing, hey, I got to step up. And the thing about it is, Ruel, you asked, can you expect healing after cheating, right? You can expect it if the man is taking the lead role in taking accountability for his family and his marriage, right? You can't do it for your wife, but women are designed to respond to us, right? It is in them to respond to a man leading. And leadership is not commanding her to do anything, right? Leadership is not commanding her to make you happy. Leadership is not demanding that. It is commanding that, right? You command that respect when you stand a certain way, when your word is bond, when she knows she can rely on you, when she knows that you said you were going to paint the living room.
Come on, man, go ahead.
And you said you were going to do such and such, and you did it, right? And so every night when she came in, she saw that you were painting that thing and you were taping it up, so that's the word, that's the consistency, that's the trust that is built over time. So she knows when you're out, right? So it can be devastating, but it's the little things that build that trust. And a lot of times what people don't want to do is they don't want to do the hard work. They want to microwave the situation. Well, you didn't make me happy, I'm out here. So you microwaved the bad and you burnt it up. Now you want to heal it all of a sudden, and you can't do it that way. It takes time, it takes work, but the work is what makes you better. The work is what makes the marriage solid.
So this, Fred, like you hit that right on, that because you guys saved my relationship, because there's things that I've gone through, that we talked about in those Sunday morning sessions, and you've always been the one to call me out on, listen, this is how but what is your role? What is your responsibility? You need to step up. And what a lot of men don't have is they don't have this. They don't have the community. They don't have other men that's just like them, that are going through the same situation just like them, but they choose another means to solve the issues or deal with the problems that they're going through. So only thing they'll do is do what they know. But what happens is, if you see another brother just like you that's going through that intimacy issue, and then now he's going to hold your hand, he's going to say, no, how about you try this other way? Don't, like, get out of that hotel room. What are you doing over there with whoever she is? Go home, right? And that's that's what men need. So the time is drawing near, so I'm gonna ask this other question, right? Because I know we said there is healing. That healing was if a man cheats. So what about women? What about that woman, right? Could you? Because I know this is if a woman cheats, if a woman cheats, is a lot of times it's not just the physical, it's the emotional. Could you forgive your woman if she cheated? Alan laughing at me. Alan, you got your answer. I know your answer because you just sat here and said Alan said it's off the table, right? So Alan, I'm gonna throw that one at you.
He who controls the mind.
Is it harder? I guess I should ask.
He who controls the mind controls the body. And that goes for male, and that goes for female.
Mm-hmm.
My man went scientific on you. Oh, man.
If you can't stimulate the mind, that's it. You're done. You can call it a day. You can padlock it. You can lock the doors. That doesn't make any sense. I found that when I used to train pit bulls, and I found that there was one dog that used to just go. What did I do? I opened the gate. He ran. No problem. I locked the gate and I put his food right on the inside of the gate. He never left. Just that simple. He who controls the mind controls the body.
Alan, I know you would. I understand what you're saying, but the question now, because you're trying to skirt around it, right? Is it harder, right, fellas? Is it harder to forgive a woman after she's cheated? Is it harder for us to forgive than it is for the woman to forgive us?
Hold on. See, I've never, and I will never, have a man cheat on me, so I can't answer.
Well,
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I mean, if we're going to go by history, most men can't shake that.
Right.
That's like the ultimate betrayal, which is unfortunately for us, well, for them, a double standard. Because when it boils down to it, just like they can run us into somebody else's arms, we can run them into somebody else's as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of goes back to what Al's talking about. You pretty much have to do a gut check. What did I not do?
Right.
That's a conversation that you all need to have. God, I mean, prayer and supplication is almost like your secondhand language. Whether each side, no matter who does it. But when it boils down to it, can I just say, sidebar? One thing you got to understand and admit, we as men don't like to show our vulnerability. So for us to have the ultimate betrayal happen, me saying I accept your apology is showing me being weak in a typical man's mindset, in a non-biblical man's mindset. There's no moment of accountability of why did I run my wife into this man's arms? All I'm thinking at that point, and I'm not saying me, ladies, I'm saying in general, that chick just stepped out on me. Oh, she got to go. I don't know who she been with. Just like she gonna say, I don't know who you been with. I don't know what she got crawling up inside her. It's the same thing, but that's all superficial. When it boils down to it, what is the meat and potatoes of what drew my wife into that man's arms? And what should I have done to make sure that didn't happen?
Right. You're holding yourself accountable, and that's what we have to do. What did
we don't
I do?
We're not going to do that.
What did I do?
As soon as we do that, I'm a punk. I'm soft. And then your boys are going to be like, oh, man, you're going to let her do that to you like that? You stepped at her back? What? Oh, you a punk. You a buster. No, I'm a man, and I'm trying to take care of my biblical responsibilities with my wife, because clearly I did something wrong to cause that.
Here's what I'm hearing, though. I mean, now, the hour is drawing near. I knew this couldn't be a one session thing. Here's what I just heard, though, right? I just heard you fellas say, if a man cheats, we now have to take responsibility and accountability for what we did and why we stepped out. If a woman cheats, we have to also take responsibility and accountability for what we then did that allowed them to cheat.
Yeah.
How is it that it seems like, darn if you... Go ahead, Fred.
No, yeah, I mean, I was going to make that same point. I think that when we have these discussions, right, and then we turn it and we make the biblical case, I agree, we have to be accountable for our own behavior and our own roles. But what we have done in a lot of ways is let women off the hook, right? Because there is this romanticized idea of relationships that a man is supposed to make a woman happy. He's supposed to cater to her every need, et cetera, et cetera. We absolutely have a role as the priest and the leader of our home. We do, right? But I can't make my wife happy, right? I'm not responsible for my wife's happiness. I am responsible for upholding my role, and she is designed to respond to me in a certain way. When we talk about why it's so difficult for a man to get over a woman cheating, it's because of the way that we are physiologically and psychologically designed, right? For a man, when men and women have intercourse, right?
Right.
The man is the conqueror and the woman is giving herself to him. The man is never I'm not giving myself to this woman, right? I have been with her.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that I am hers, right? But in our minds, we believe that she is ours because she has given ourselves to us, right? And no matter how many women you've been with, in your mind, they all gave themselves to you, right? And you either discarded them or moved on to someone else.
I'm gonna jump in, and Fred, you continue. One of the, I know this is Sabbath hour, but let's keep it transparent. One of the phrases that men use is they slayed, right? Right. Go go right ahead, Fred. Continue.
We use all that language. All that language is the
Right.
language of a conqueror. And what do
Right.
conquerors do? They plant their flag. They own that territory, right? If you're sitting in a room, if you were in high school, for instance, or college, right, and you slept with different women in a room, you looked around the room and said, "That was mine. That was mine. I had that. I took that." Yeah, and all that language goes through your head, right? And so that is so if it is your wife, that is the ultimate planting of the flag, right? That's the mountaintop. That's Vesuvius. That's Kilimanjaro. That's mine, because you put it up in front of the whole world and said, this is mine, right? And what she did was she walked right up to the top of that mountain and she took it down in front of the whole world. And that's how you feel. And that's why it's so hard to give that back, to reconcile. When a man steps out on a woman, he's just conquering other mountains, right? Now, I'm not saying it's right, but the difference is why it's different, because a woman, she knows if he comes back to her, that means he's hers, right? And that's the difference. She may have to get over it. She's got to forgive him. She's got to accept him. But that is the act of her giving herself to him over and over again. And the reason why I make that distinction is because we have to be aware of the language, because this is the language that's actually driving us to do these things in the first place. If we see ourselves as conquerors that have to go out and conquer this other thing to be validated as a conqueror, instead of saying, tonight I conquered the laundry for my wife, right? I conquered the kids at bath time for my wife. I conquered those bills for my wife, right? And she is validating you as her king every time you do those little things, right? Not the big things, not he bought me this ring for anniversary, or he finally did something on Mother's Day or whatever, and they put that on social media. Like, that's what I want women to understand, is that you need to crown him every night. He needs to be crowned every day, because if you're not crowning him, there is someone out there who is willing to put that crown on his head.
That's pretty much what I was saying earlier. But anyway.
Fellas, you know what? Listen, we could do this for days. We could have these discussions. That's just one aspect of cheating. We haven't even gotten into other aspects of why men cheat. But the hour is near. Listen, this is the men's ministry of the Church of the Oranges. I just want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. I'll end with this. Men, as not just as Christians, but as men, we're placed on this earth to fulfill our duties, right? Our duties to our children, our duties to our wives, right, and our duties to the church, right? And we have to now take up that mantle and take up that role as men and continue to live the life that God has called us to live, right? And women, you have just gotten some gems. For the last hours, we just gave you some gems that you should be able to write a book, take notes, because this can change your life, right? And now this conversation here is going to change some marriages, is going to change a few people's lives. So I just want to thank you all for tuning in. This is the men's ministry here at the Church of the Oranges. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your Sabbath. All right,